Bobby's here is a Roblox player who's shrouded in mystery, and his complicated story is spread out through death, destruction, and complicated puzzles spanning through all of his games. So in today's video, we're going to be investigating Bobby's here and understanding his descent into insanity. Now one day after he created his Roblox account, he uploaded this decal right here, and it is called Beginning. Now this decal is very confusing and nobody's 100% sure what it means, but basically it depicts something from his game that he has on his profile called Memories, and in this picture it basically says someone whose name is Circle with a bunch of people walking around them as they stand on a pedestal above everyone else. Now instantly a lot of people thought that this may mean that Bobby may have an ego over someone else, or maybe he feels separate from society. Now on that same day after he joined Roblox, he created this decal which is called Meeting. Now in this decal called Memories, there's 4 people sitting at a table on a grass in a big open white sky area, and there seems to be a pattern we're slowly noticing. Now personally I assume this may be what's occurring in his memory. He sees stuff in black and white, and he maybe sees it in just simple textures like this. As you can see, none of the characters have any facial expressions or anything like that, and it seems very soulless and blank and empty. Now a couple weeks later, Bobby creates this decal, which is probably the most confusing of them all. It is called Me and My Family, and it has Bobby sitting at a table with all the other seats completely empty. The room is also completely dark and is completely different than the last image. People have started to wonder if he feels separated from society, and if the reason he's so empty at the table is maybe his family passed away, or he left them and separated himself from them. Now there were 2 more decals that Bobby released, one called Hometown and one called Tree of Memories, both set in the original game I talked about, Memories, that is on his profile. Now in the picture called Hometown, we can see something called Lars Bar, and it has a couple people standing outside of it, and it seems to be a pretty nice place. Now there is a lot more information regarding Lars Bar, but I quickly want to tell you guys what's in the Trees of Memories image as well. In the Tree of Memories image, it looks like there's one large tree surrounded by a bunch of other trees and some bushes, and it seems to be very specifically placed in a specific way. Now nobody knows exactly what this means, but people have considered that this tree in the middle that's much larger and separate from all the other ones is how Bobby feels in his society, and there's a pattern of him feeling separate from everyone else. Either this could be defined as him feeling better than everyone else, or it may be that he feels separate from everyone because he lost all the people that were closest to him. And judging by the image called Me and My Family, we can tell there's people that are not inside of his life, like his family, his friends, and stuff like that. So they could either be imaginary, or they could just be not around anymore. Either that could be death, or that could be some other reason why they vanished. Now as I mentioned earlier, there's that image called Lars Bar, and in that there's something very interesting, and it has a very deep story. Now Lars Bar isn't just a bar, he's actually a player, and he's the only person and only user that Bobby has friended on his account. Now Lars created his account on February 4th of 2017. Now inside of Bobby's game called Memories, which we'll be exploring later in this video, there's actually a teleporter that leads to Lars Bar itself. The description of the game that Lars Bar is under says that the price in his bar is always right, and Lars's bio on his profile says that making money isn't easy and that times can be difficult. We're not sure of the significance of this meaning, but it is an interesting thing to note. Now a couple years after Lars and Bobby arrived on Roblox, their games turned entirely black and white, which many people believe signified something bad occurring. It was also at this time that Lars was never seen again, and his Roblox account did not come back online. While Lars has been active intermittently on his account, Lars has entirely vanished off of the platform entirely. Now another thing to note about Bobby is at one point he was found in an entirely different game than his own. The players who met him noticed that he seemed to be completely lost, and he acted like he didn't know where he was and maybe had amnesia or dementia and forgot where he went. Apparently also while Bobby was in the game, he said that they will be mad at him, but nobody knows who he was talking about, and he was never seen inside a different game than his own again. Now there's many different theories about Bobby, and before I explore his game, I want to just quickly explain some of them. Now one of the main theories people have is that Memories is a collection of scattered thoughts and things that he's remembered. Often individuals with amnesia only remember certain specific things very well and keep them in their brain, and many people believe this is where he's putting all of his thoughts to store them so he doesn't forget them. Another theory is that Bobby's here is suffering from something called PTSD, or post-traumatic stress disorder. People believe he became this way due to his friend Lars Bar dying. Many people believe that Lars Bar passed away as he's not been online in multiple years and everything turned black and white when he went offline. In one of Bobby's games, he also has a room that is entirely upside down, and people believe that that means that his mental state in society was turned upside down, which for those who don't know basically means that your whole life changed entirely and switched directions completely. In another of Bobby's games, Lars Bar can be found on an island separated from everything else, which people believe means that he may be separate from everything else and just a dream in Bobby's memory. And finally, many other times people have seen Bobby to feel very distraught and very scared, saying it's too much for me and it's not your fault. Now to me, it's clear that Bobby has a lot of mental issues he's processing, and if it was due to his friend's death or something else that occurred in his life, it seems that he lost many things and is going through a lot. Now I'm going to be taking an investigation into his game and seeing what we can find. Now here we are inside of his game Memories, and you guys may recognize this this from one of the actual images that's on his account. This is the area called Circles, where you guys can see his name there, and he's on this pedestal above everyone else, as I mentioned earlier. As you can see, everyone has no faces on their avatars, and I'm not exactly sure what this represents, but it seems that Mr. Circles up here at the top doesn't have one either. Now, if you touch back here, there's a path that opens up that way, and if you climb this way, let's see, like that, there's an area that opens up over here. I'm gonna go over here first, because this is the first way I want to go. As you guys can see, there's 4 people at the table, like we actually saw in one of the images. But over here looks to be a bar table of some sort with 3 different individuals behind it. Now, if you go over here and touch this individual, this area opens up here, where a bunch of people are flying through the sky, and it's maybe a reference to what I mentioned earlier about his life turning completely upside down. There's also many people passed away on the ground, which could be in relation to his family or friends or whatever actually occurred to them and why he's so alone. Now, if we go over this direction, there's also a couple individuals hanging on here by a thread, maybe symbolizing the connection between Lars and Bobby and how he was his only friend left. Maybe Bobby was using Lars to stay alive, but when Lars fell, Bobby's life turned upside down. Now over here, if you go onto this island, you guys can see a grave with 1 singular flower, cross, and 3 trees along with 2 bushes. This most likely represents where Lars was buried. Now if you walk over here, touch up here, we find another area. A couple islands here with a tree, and what looks to be some blocks. Whatever this means, I'm not totally sure, and I'm not exactly sure why this is here, but if you run up all the way to the top, touch this up here, this area opens up. This gives us access to this building here, which has an empty room, which I'm not exactly sure what it is, and I don't recognize it from any of the images on his profile. It doesn't really look like a house, but it looks more like a temple of some sort, whatever that could mean. Now after this is as far as we can go from here, so I'm gonna run all the way back and show you guys the next part of this. Now, the next area is accessible by going like this. I know this is kind of weird, but okay, gotta go like that. So the next area is opened up over here, and this is what's really confusing. We can see an individual here carrying a torch, walking towards another group of people surrounding something holding torches. On the left, we see someone named I'm Freezing and a sign that says donate. Now over here, we can actually see a bunch of people with torches. Going in between them, coming through, shows us a grave. This grave, instead of like the other one, doesn't have a rose or a cross. It's just a simple block. Now after touching that, it opens up another place where we can see 10 different graves. Could this be symbolism to the people that Lars lost in his life? Maybe his family that weren't shown in that image that I mentioned earlier. Or maybe the imaginary people in his life. This could be related to here. This could be his grave. Maybe this is where Bobby thinks he's gonna die and be buried. All these people maybe are his imaginary friends or his friends that are standing at his funeral. There's most likely a connection that some can find, but many people have explored this game and found different things that they're still confused about. On the back here, behind one of these graves, it said, if only. Maybe referencing, oh, wait, what? What is this? Now, as we can see from this game, there isn't any sort of overlaying story. It seems like each of these islands are stitched together and just memories in his brain. To me, my personal diagnosis of this is that it seems like he has a lot of mental problems like amnesia or dementia, and he's putting the few memories that he has inside of this game. And I wonder if this stemmed from the death of Lars, who maybe was his only friend left, because as we saw in the images, he seemed to be entirely alone. If you guys have any theories for this, make sure to comment them down below. I want to know what you guys think. Make sure to like this video and take care.